Hi, my name is Reggie Williams, and I'm one of the executive directors of Black Film Space. Black Film Space is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting the careers of Black filmmakers. We host workshops, panels, and other community building events that are designed to support Black content creators. We also have a membership program that offers discounts to filmmaking resources, free events, a filmmaking database, grants, a mentorship program, and much more. In the next episode of the Black Film Space podcast, we talk with Sadiqua Bynum, a stunt woman. Sadiqua has worked as Angela Basset's stunt double in American Horror Story and Regina King's stunt double on Watchmen. We talk with Sadiqua about her journey breaking into stunt doubling, stunt coordination, and much more. This episode was executive produced by Reggie Williams and Sino Gibson and edited by Leah Kirksey. And now, on to our interview. All right, Sadiqua, welcome to the Black Film Space podcast. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So glad that you're here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Can you tell us about the 8-year-old Sadiqua who was competing in vault and floor exercises? Do you think that she always imagined herself as a stunt woman?
I don't. I think that when I was really young, I was in gymnastics, and so that was like my main focus was wake up, go to school, and then go to gymnastics practice, and then go back home. And so for me, like that whole process of getting into stunts was something that was very, very foreign to me. So, the 8-year-old Sadiqua was like only thinking about gymnastics and, in that present time, like gymnastics in school was basically the only thing that I did. So yeah, I wonder what it would be like, if there's like an 8-year-old that's like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to be stunts. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into doing stunts?
So I got into stunts right after college. I majored in sociology, did gymnastics all the way up through college. Once I graduated, my coach was just helping me try and figure out the different things that I could do. I wanted to do social work, but I also knew that I didn't want to sit behind a desk for, however many hours from 9 to 5. I think I definitely enjoy moving around more than just sitting down and staying still. So my coach was like, you can coach at gymnastics and at least kind of figure out what you think you might want to do. So I was coaching at the gymnastics gym for a little bit, and he was like, why don't you look into stunts, for movies? And I had no idea what it was, but I think in the present time, I wanted to do anything else except for sit behind a desk. So I was like, well, if it's if it's something that's where I can move my body and train and stay active, then I'm all for it. So
Mm-hmm.
he had me reach out to a few other alumni that were stunt women as well, and sat down for lunch with one of them, and she gave me all the info and was like, you gotta be patient and train a lot and meet a lot of people, but the payoff is awesome. And I was like, well, that sounds like it'd be something I could do. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah, it sounds like a really adventurous sort of opportunity, sort of career to be in stunts. It's like we watch, movies and we see like the A-list, the stars, and
hmm
not I don't think many of them do their own stunts. Like I know that Tom Cruise does,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of others don't, and it's like you all are like the real, movie stars, you know what I mean? Like doing the actual stunts. But stunt is I feel like there's a lot more to the word stunt. Like, can you explain to us what that is exactly? Like what is your role exactly?
Yeah, so as a stunt performer, our role is um I would say it's like tenfold. There are many, many different aspects of being a stunt performer. The first is there's like kind of different levels of stunt performers. So like one thing, I think the main one that people know of is like a stunt double. So that is where you are doubling an actress or an actor, and you know they're doing something like a fight, or they're doing jumping out of a building or going through a window or something like that, and it's something that they don't want the actress to do, just to make sure that they stay safe. um,
Mm.
so they will put in a stunt double in who's kind of been training for it and understands like the safety behind it and kind of the timing and all of that. And so they'll step in for the actress for when the actress needs to do that action. So that's a stunt double. And then there's a nondescript stunt or a stunt utility, which can fall under being, you know, bad guy number one or bad girl number two, the ones that you kind of see in the movies that might be an extra, but
Hmm.
they are put in a place that um, might protect the actress or actor if they're doing something specific, or um, you know, if they need to see a whole bunch of people, um, like let's say jumping out of a van, and they have specific roles for those people, then they'll be considered like an ND, nondescript stunt or a utility stunt. Um,
Hmm.
and then they also have like stunt riggers, which are um, the individuals who are, they're like the mechanisms behind the wire stunts. So like sometimes if you see someone getting like pulled through a window, or you know something where the hit looks like it's really hard, or like pulled to a wall, anything that kind of requires a lot of um, power or like very particular movement, those will be like a stunt riggers.
Got you.
So yeah, many different levels of stunt performers.
Got you. Yeah, it sounds elaborate.
Yeah.
Um, and how involved are you in regards to choreographing the stunts on set?
I think it depends on the coordinator. I think some coordinators are more open to, you know, how would you feel about doing this, or how would you do this, or you know, kind of give that like that open book to for you to be able to explain your own perspective. And some coordinators just already have it in their head. They already have the vision, and they already have, you know, just in terms of wanting to know or wanting to see what they know is safe and what they've practiced. Then they'll just say like, okay, this is the choreography, you know, here, learn it and then perform it to the best of your ability. So definitely depends on the coordinator and the set that you're working on.
Got you. Got
Hmm.
you. And when you started training for stunts in 2016.
Yeah, I would say that's when I got into stunts. Technically, like I would say I probably started actually training for it like maybe 2017 or 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that process like?
So for me, the process of getting into stunts and training for stunts was um, kind of learning like body movement, you know. So coming from my gymnastics background, I had a lot of comfortability in knowing like, okay, like air awareness, and knowing like my body needs to be there, or I need to take like 5 steps to get to that point. Um, so that helped a lot. But I think once I started seriously training for stunts, it was a lot more particular about making everything very realistic. So sometimes, like, you'll get some choreography and it won't really feel um, right. Like your body is like, oh, I don't know why. Like, what would the effect of that be? And so for me, like I knew that when I started seriously training for stunts, that I wanted to learn everything as practical as possible. So started learning like firearms and guns and tactical training, and making sure that I knew, you know, the ins and outs of the mechanisms of a gun and how everything works, to like clearing a wall or clearing a corner and all of that. So um, and that also went along with like horse riding and fighting, like learning boxing and judo and jiu-jitsu and um, like right now I'm getting into car stunts and motorcycle stunts. So that's yeah, a really exciting transition. But again, like there's so much that goes into learning all of it. So um, still learning, still definitely enjoying the process of realizing there's so much to know.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, and what about landing a job? Like how does one get their first stunt job, or how did you get your first stunt job? Are there auditions, or like what is that process like?
Yeah, so I think it's the process of getting hired is different for different people. Some people will have an agent that will go onto the different casting websites and try and find the coordinator and reach out to them, and this kind of there's that communication between the coordinator and the agent, and then they'll reach out to that person and say, hey, they're looking for so and so, and then you'll audition. um, and then you'll get like the process of that would be your agent would put you in for an audition. You would go into the audition and perform, and then they would call you for a callback or just put you straight on hold. And so those are like that would be the step of going through your agent. um, for me, my first stunt job and getting into SAG was kind of a combination of two different things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I got reached out to about working on a gymnastics movie, and it was a new media film, but they needed like specific gymnasts in the background to kind of help with like, just movement and all of that. And at this time, I wasn't in SAG yet, so they needed to Taft Hartley me so that I could get into the job in order to be like considered a SAG performer. So
Mm-hmm.
um, that was how that job kind of like gave me the Taft Hartley in order to be in stunts. And then um, I think my first like stunt job was on American Horror Story, and that was
Mm-hmm.
doubling Angela Basset, which was an
Oh,
awesome, yeah, very very awesome like first experience, and that was like considered my first SAG stunt job.
what were you doing with that gig?
Yeah,
Like, what did
so
you have
with
to do?
that one, let's see if I can explain it. I'll explain it in the best way possible. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a spiral staircase, and kind of wraps around so that there's like a hole in between it. Um, and so Angela is standing at the top having a conversation with the other actress. The actress gets quite angry and pushes her off of the edge of the like awning. So the awning breaks and she falls backwards through the inside of the spiral staircase. And there was like a broken chandelier that was on the table below her, that the part of that goes into the wall was sticking up straight. So basically the action is that she gets pushed back, she falls through this staircase and then like lands and gets like impaled with the top of the chandelier like sticking up through her body.
Mm-hmm.
So um for me, they had her do kind of the motion of getting pushed back and then like starting the fall backwards. And then that was where stunt riggers come in. I was in wires, and I was in a harness, and so they basically like lowered me down, and I'm falling back, and then they stopped me like right above the spike, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the last like step of that is to plug in Angela back in, um, like pretending like she kind of landed and fall, and then they would have um, the the stick of the or the point of the chandelier like sticking out from her belly.
Mm.
So it was pretty cool. It was really cool experience to kind of see like all of that happening all at once, because I was like a deer in headlights the whole entire day. Just trying to figure out
I
like
can
what the
imagine.
heck is going on right now.
Yeah.
It's very, very like a new experience, but allowed me to see like, okay, so this is what I'm into. Okay, cool. But yeah, it was
Mhm.
an awesome experience.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. It also sounds dangerous. Like
Yes.
it sounds like a very. I mean, there's a reason why they don't want the lead actors to do these things. So
hmm
I guess what was it like? I guess their first couple gigs, like, were you nervous that you know something could happen to you, and how do they protect you all from getting hurt?
hmm Um, so in terms of safety, I think that and especially just like kind of being aware of your surroundings and, how you feel in certain situations, like, I still get nervous. I did a stunt job yesterday where, um, I have to just like punch this guy through glass and he's on wires and the glass explodes and then there's a girl inside the glass and she has to jump out of the glass and like there's all these things, but timing is really important because if I, punch too early and then the wires pull him too late, then it doesn't look the way that it's supposed to look. Or if I punch
Mm-hmm.
too late and he's already there, then the punch misses, so there's a lot of like timing cues, and then also making sure that like the person in front of me is good and making sure everyone else is good. So um there's just that like that factor of kind of being aware of your surroundings and like making sure that you're paying attention to what would happen if, there's always kind of asking that question of what would happen if, this, because you don't really necessarily know how it's going to go. You kind of
Mm-hmm.
in your head like go through it in your head, or you go through like, okay, so this happens here and then this happens here and then that goes there. But in your head obviously is very, very different than reality. So kind of making sure that you're 100% present and aware. um, and it also falls on the coordinator as well. So making sure that the coordinator, is there to make sure that you're safe. So making sure the mats are in there for you, making sure you have everything you need to feel safe and comfortable. Um, and then they also have, we'll have like our stunt bag, which has all our pads and safety equipment and all of that in there as well. So, but yeah, safety is definitely one of the big, and the danger of it is definitely one of the biggest um, things that you have to be aware of. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
mm.
What is a typical day like?
Ooh, there's no such thing as a typical day.
I can imagine.
Yeah, like it's so hard to schedule things just because like I really have no idea. Like even if I know that I'm gonna have work, I don't know. They'll let us know when we start, but that's usually the day before. um and we have no idea when we leave. Like usually we can gauge depending on what time our call time is.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have like a 12-hour day or 13-hour day. Sometimes like some productions will only give like a 10-hour limit. So for those you can kind of gauge like, okay, if I'm in at this time, then I'll be out at least by this time. But you never know. So even like on a work day, if you go in like, um, they might hold you there for the whole entire day until it's time to do your stunt, or they might have you do the stunt and then wait around if they need to have you do something else, or you might wait around and they might not use you and then they push it to the next day. So um, yeah, in terms of a work day, it's random, and then like life in general is also random because you have your training here and there, and then sometimes things get adjusted or you have to add in a fitting, or you have to go to, now they have like COVID testing, so you have to go and do a COVID test. So yeah, no such thing as a typical day.
Got you. Got you. Got you. So have you worked on like independent films or lower budget projects or short films?
So I think my first job that I got, the gymnastics one, that was a lower budget, I guess, like new media independent project.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so after that, most of my projects have been with through SAG. I'm kind of shifting over to, I would really love to kind of dive more into independent films, just to kind of, because eventually, I want to stunt coordinate and I would love to direct and produce.
Mm.
So kind of understanding that headspace and having my headspace in that way. Um, Jumping into independent projects and lower budget projects, I think would allow me to, learn more about that side of things, on a
Yeah.
lower scale. So it's not as like, um, there's hundreds of people on set and you have all these people that are doing everything. That's kind of it'll be a transition, I think, see from that
Yeah.
end. Hmm.
Yeah, you're kind of. I was going to ask you that a little bit later. Just where do you see your career going?
Hmm.
Because it just seems really strenuous to be a stunt woman for like decades. It
Yes.
just seems really taxing on the body and the mind. So I would imagine one might want to look into other sorts of professions as they
Yeah.
get older.
Yeah.
Um, but the reason why I asked about the independent short film projects is a lot of people in our community are emerging filmmakers. They're working on shorts, maybe their
Yeah.
first feature, and I'm just curious if you have any tips if they do plan on shooting something that is kind of dangerous,
Hmm.
how they can go about hiring a stunt person, or even if they don't have a stunt person, like what they can do to ensure that it looks good
Hmm.
and ensure that it's safe. I know you kind of went into safety a little bit, but I don't know if this is something that you can answer at this moment.
Yeah. That is a great, great, amazing question. And I love that question because I feel like that is the space that I'm in right now with just figuring out how to be more involved in lower budget, smaller, independent projects. And I think mainly that's just because I am just looking at things from a different perspective of productions. And I feel like it's so important to build a community, and it's important to be able to feel comfortable, like saying, hey, I don't know someone that can do this, but I know of someone that can, and so
Mm-hmm.
being able to kind of expand that. And I don't necessarily know how grand the stunt community is, and how the stunt community is involved into like smaller projects and independent projects. So I would say, like, just from the knowledge that I have of right now and kind of the direction that I'm going, I feel like um, I I think that's also why I was so interested in learning more about your guys' company, because there's a lot of that missing link, between like stunt performers and stunt coordinators being in lower budget, independent films. And I think there's a huge importance in that, and just being able to like add that authenticity of like knowing, like, oh yeah, I know a stunt woman that, or a stunt man who can do this, or who can help with this and how to make it look good, because
Yeah.
it's just all about giving back to the community, and giving back to the environment that we all love and want to cultivate to make greater. So
Yeah. 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 It doesn't. I mean, I'm not. I might just be ignorant to this, but it doesn't seem like there is that connection.
mhm.
I feel like most of my peers, uh, you know, the ones that are at my level, they're not. Maybe they're not even making films that require any stunts, and maybe
Mhm.
they're not doing it because it just seems like too much. Too much of a hurdle to jump over, too costly. Um, or maybe they're just not interested in those sorts of projects.
Yeah.
But it does feel like I personally don't know anybody, and it feels like there is sort of a disconnect there. But yeah, I do
Yeah.
think it definitely has its value. I mean, if you're a filmmaker and you want to make your project look good, I mean, you're gonna need
Right.
proper stunt people,
Mhm.
um, or
Absolutely.
or even just a stunt coordinator, even if you're gonna have your actors do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thank
for
you so
sure.
much for actually bringing that up to me because I think it was something that was festering in my mind of like how can I, become more involved in the smaller projects, especially, for us, because I feel like there's a huge demand of like um, just filmmakers that feel comfortable to be able to add in the action and to be able to add in, all of that type of um, uh, environment into like productions.
Hmm.
Um, but because like my career kind of has been mainly in SAG projects that I think I've kind of been so blinded to um, the need for that in smaller projects. But I think that that's definitely something that I would love to kind of dive more into and learn more about because I think it'd be awesome to be able to bring more of that light, into the smaller projects and the upcoming films.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, Now, in regards to like black stunt coordinators, what is that community like? Do you feel like it's thriving? Um, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's more and more over the last 5 years. There's more projects with black actors, and
Mm-hmm.
so I imagine that there's more work and potential for more stunt coordinators to break through. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what your perspective is from.
Yeah. That's also, another thing that I think is so important is realizing that like we need to grow. There's that demand for our growth. And so like definitely within the past few years, I've seen a lot of um, a lot more Black actors and actresses and um, being able to kind of explore that space. And so I think that people are now being um, they're more aware of the need for Black stunt performers and also stunt coordinators, Um, and so I think that that's definitely something that is growing and it's something that is in high demand. So that's kind of one of the things that I've been kind of leaning more towards is like figuring out coordinating, um, but obviously starting on a smaller scale because sometimes I think there's the ability to be able to start coordinating on really big projects when it's a huge pill to swallow and just understanding the ins and outs of everything and making sure that everyone's safe and that everyone has everything and all of that. So I hope that there's a growth um and just like a closer connection to being able to expand more on like more Black stunt coordinators.
Hmm. So what does a stunt coordinator do exactly?
So stunt coordinator, there's a stunt coordinator and a fight coordinator. Within those two aspects, there's the stunt coordinator who basically is involved with all things stunts. So they will be in charge of, making sure that the actors and actresses are safe, which would include like mats, making sure the mats are there, and making sure that everyone has the right like stunt pads, elbow pads, knee pads, that kind of thing. Anything to kind of protect the stunt performers, also making sure the actresses are safe. They also are usually involved with the director, AD, producers, making sure that everything is kind of in place for whatever is needed for that specific stunt. They're the ones that kind of hire all of their stunt performers. So making sure that, if they need a stunt double for the top three actresses or actors, um, and then also if they need to add in like, you know, uh, person that falls number one, and then person that jumps out of the way, and then, all those extra little like ND spots, they'll hire them. Um, And they also are making sure that, like, if during the scene, if there's an action, they'll usually be by monitor, kind of making sure that everything looks good, everything's safe, everything is looking the way that they want it to look, in terms of like the making sure the punches hit, making sure that the movements look correct, and the the design of everything. um and that's just a few things. Like, the list
Hmm.
definitely goes on, but those are the main things.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
And as a stunt performer, how involved are you with the director?
um I think that that also depends, being different directors and different stunt coordinators have different connections. So usually, if the stunt coordinator has a great, open kind of dialogue with the director, usually it's easier for the stunt performer to be able to dive into that communication as well. Um, Sometimes it's kind of separate, and they just say like a few things, and then it's like, okay, let's do our jobs. And so for us, it's like we have more communication with the stunt coordinator than the director. Sometimes the director will come up to you and kind of ask you a question, or ask you certain things, or give you specific direction. So it definitely is ever changing, and depends on the production and that director and the stunt coordinator.
Got you. And I imagine the stunt coordinator is giving you direction.
Yes.
Yeah, between takes.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. So like,
got you.
in terms of direction, like, our if the actor's boss is the director or the AD, then our boss is the stunt coordinator.
Got you. Got you.
Hmm.
Okay. Um. Now you were in Watchmen.
Yes.
That's dope.
Thank you.
Uh, the TV show.
Yep.
Yeah. What's special training did you need for Watchmen?
So there was quite a bit of fighting in it. So I needed to make sure that I brushed up on my fighting, and making sure that, everything looked good. Making sure that I felt confident, kind of understanding that aspect of everything. Feeling comfortable with Regina, and making sure that Regina felt like she, knew her movements right, and making sure she felt safe and all of that. Um, so fighting training. There was also, I think, a little bit of, yeah, there was a gunfight, like a shootout scene. And so for that, it wasn't anything that particular, and that was when I kind of dove into this space of wanting to know things practically. Um, and so at that point, I was still kind of like learning the shooting aspect of it, and like, okay, like, um, how to make it look good for film. But it's different, learning how to do something that looks good for film versus learning it practically. So,
Hmm.
kind of jumped me over into realizing, like, okay, like, it feels good and it looks good, but I want to make sure that I know exactly the purpose of it. So
And
yeah.
did you figure that out on set or after you were shooting?
So that was like, I think that show was kind of what made me realize, like, okay, I understand the choreography, but I want to know more. I want to know, like, the
Gotcha.
reason behind it. So, during the shoot, I definitely figured it out on the day to kind of make it look and feel comfortable. But after that, I kind of was like, let me figure out um how to make it feel and look more authentic.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Got you. Got you. Um, in regards to like daily habits, like eh, what do you think aspiring stunt performers should incorporate into their lives?
Um, I think that in terms of being a stunt performer, your health is really, really important, because your body, is your work. So keeping your body healthy and making sure that you're checking into um, how you're feeling from a day to day. Sometimes you can have training for hours and your body is tired and sore. And so making sure that you're checking in, and making those decisions to say, like, okay, maybe I don't need to train as much tomorrow, or maybe I can train something different that might not be as strenuous. Um, so, along those lines. And then also like um, getting in a good headspace. I think that that's one of the things that now I'm kind of like learning for myself, is that stunts if it's your passion, then it becomes so much of your life. And sometimes it's hard to step away from that and fit, go back to the things that like are hobbies, so making sure that you're taking the time to do the things that you love, outside of stunts, or outside of whatever you're doing as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
being a human being.
exactly.
I think that applies to a lot of people in the entertainment industry. It's a very consuming industry, and there's long days, and once you get into it, you're surrounded by other people that are doing the same thing, and
Hmm.
it's almost always like this business mindset, or this kind of just competitive sort of mindset, or just kind of obsessing over the craft, which I know it could help some people, but like you said, I think it's important to kind of have a life
Yes.
outside, and be a human being,
Hmm.
and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what about like diet and meditation? Are those things that you personally do?
Yeah.
Like have a
So
healthy diet,
healthy
not a
diet
diet,
for
but
sure. Yeah. Healthy diet for sure, I think, is one of the things that is ever changing, constantly trying to figure out, at least for me, I'm constantly trying to figure out like what things can I do to make my body feel better, or what are the things that make me feel slow or heavy, or what are the things that, during this time I know I'm sore, so what's good with like with finding the things that can help with inflammatory.
mm,
So just shifting it's ever so changing, just to make sure that I'm always keeping things different. I don't think I really have a strict, I eat at this time and I eat at this time, I eat at this time, just because my days are always so random. So I think that that's the challenging part now, is trying to get into, a good rhythm of figuring out when are the best times to eat, and all that good stuff.
mm, got you.
Yeah.
Um, are there any particular moves that you would consider to be mind blowing, or just something that you never thought you would learn or use that you've done on set?
Ooh, that is a great question. Um, Not really. I don't think so. I think it's just because like everything is still so new to me. Like even though I've been in it for a while, well, 4 years, I guess. Um, 3 years ish. I would say like there's still so much that I'm learning. So everything is mind blowing to me. I feel like I'm
Mm,
constantly learning and constantly like taking in everything on set, and kind of like, even, from grips to lighting to camera to set deck, like all of that, I think is so amazing to kind of see like we're a team, and like it doesn't just take one person, it takes a whole team to make a project. So
yeah.
um I just love that part of it, that community based process of learning, like, oh wow, like that's how that happened, or that's how that goes. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Got you. And in regards to starting off as a gymnast, do you feel like that's given you a better standing in your career?
I would say so. I think so. Yeah. I feel like there's a something from gymnastics that definitely has helped me, not only just with my like understanding my body and air awareness, and um my movement ability, um but also like the discipline behind things and the focus. Like I was talking to someone yesterday about how, like, once you get on set and once you step on set, there's so much um so many things going on, like just everyone's moving around so quickly and like the world's moving so fast, and you're trying to focus on doing this one thing, and so like you have to kind of like block out everything else, but then also make sure that you're paying as much attention to what you have to do as possible, you know? So knowing that you have to do this stunt and having to focus on doing that, but then also paying attention to like, okay, well, where's the camera going to be? And okay, what is, you know, what happens when the stunt's over? You know, what do I do after? You know, so there's a lot going on. So I feel like gymnastics has definitely helped with that kind of focus and determination, and then also just trusting like my body and my movements.
Nice, nice. And how do you challenge yourself to stay on top of your game?
Ooh, I feel like I'm constantly challenging myself because I'm so hard on myself. I'm
Mm,
very hard on myself in terms of like, you know, just with anything, like I want to make sure that I'm doing it to the best of my ability. So sometimes it's a challenge just to like have patience, you know, and like um realizing that the grind and the hustle is just constant, but the amazing part of it is that it doesn't all have to happen right now. And so
mm,
that's right now kind of like what I've been working on is like um taking the steps that are necessary to um get to where I need to, but also like sitting in each day and like being thankful for the jobs that I've had and the people that I've gotten to meet, and like experiences like this, you know, where I get to kind of open more boxes and open more doors and expand my knowledge about things and expand my ability to be able to see and do more things. So
yeah,
constantly being challenged, and I love it.
yeah, yeah. I think it's really important to just appreciate the journey. It's very tempting to just kind of want to be at the top. And I'm
Yes.
sure the top is great. You know, I'm sure the top of the mountain is great. But you know, when you talk to people who have reached the top, they often mention the journey is like the best part.
Yeah,
You know, so
absolutely.
um, did you have to take any acting classes?
I didn't have to, but I am now by choice. And that was one of the
Okay.
things that I remember you had mentioned before about what I wanted to do when I was, you know, looking at maybe finishing with stunts or just it being taking a lot of toll on your body. I just recently got into doing acting as well. So, you know, taking the acting classes and um, I have an amazing, amazing acting coach. And so that's also, you know, something in the back of my mind that like if stunts ends up like kind of beating up my body too much to where I want to shift, that, you know, lighting that fire now so I can kind of dive into it more.
Got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely makes sense to have that investment.
Yeah,
Doesn't hurt at all.
absolutely.
Um, so is there anything else that you want to let our audience, our community know?
Um, ooh, audience and community. I think that there's just a huge importance in community and especially like with bringing in stunts into a smaller space. And I feel like that is where my headspace is right now. And so I really hope that with the projects that you guys are doing, especially with Black Film Space, I think it's amazing that, you know, there's um, a specific space, a specific community, you know, that's meant especially for us, you know, to be able to
Mm-hmm.
expand and to stay connected and thrive and grow. And so amazing for you guys for making it possible for people to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then also like um, from my stunt perspective, like I really, really, really do hope that um, you know, and I'm sure you feel free to like put my Instagram or my email out there, whatever, to reach out to me about like having people um needed for stunts, and to kind of like as a coordinator to kind of make sure everything is going the right way that's supposed to go, like training people if they need training, anything of that way. I would love to be involved in that. So yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. What's the best way for people to find you on the internet?
So my Instagram is just my first name and last name, Sadiqua Bynum. And then I have a website, www.sadiquabynum.com. And there's like a contact me on there as well. I'm not necessarily that active on Twitter or Facebook, but yeah, I would say the best ways are probably Instagram or my website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sadiqua. Appreciate your time and insight, and this was fun. Thank you so much, and hopefully we can stay in touch and build together.
Yes, absolutely. I hope so.
Awesome. Thank you, Sadiqua.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Black Film Space podcast. If you're interested in attending our events, becoming a member, or donating to our mission, please visit us at blackfilmspace.com. Also, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Black Film Space. Subscribe to our email list and podcast. All right, peace out. See you soon.